The diner is open for business. Newsflash, people don't approve of the president. There's people selling out theaters to see a 20-year-old movie, and a video game turned HBO series experiences deja vu. This is episode 6 of Burgers and Fries at the Diner. Of course, we like to talk mainly pop culture, entertainment, music, and sometimes politics too. I'm Desert Coyote 22. You may call me Anthony if you wish. With me on this edition, if Thriller Wolf, if he had a Jedi name, it would be Master Gregorian. If Atomical had a Jedi name, it would be Master Adamari. And returning after a long absence, if this guy had a Jedi name, it would be Lord Tiny Peepee. It's Tony.
Hello. Long time no see, everybody. Back from the dead, I guess, after, a long hiatus.
Well, the thing is, we have to address this because there were people on Discord wondering where Tony was, why he hasn't been gone for so long. We can all admit that last episode he joined was a very brutal and very heated thing. You two remember, Adam and Greg, you remember that episode, right?
Of course.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, but you really, became one of, if not the most brutal you've ever been.
Though that's okay. So we have to ask this very good question, Tony, and here you are face to face. Tony, were you ever kicked off the podcast?
No, I was never kicked off the podcast. I took a hiatus because of some personal stuff I was dealing with a piece of shit ex of mine who I found out cheated on me for a heroin addict.
Well, we didn't have to mention that, but you're right. The thing is, Tony was always welcome to come back anytime. You just got the details revealed. His head was never there. Tony, was there ever a point where I was close to kicking you out and cutting all ties with you?
You were close, but you never actually cut ties. You were close, though.
I was close to, okay? Now, was I wanting to cut ties with you because of your presidential candidate, Tony?
No, you just wanted me to get my facts right and everything next time.
It was also your behavior behind the scenes, remember?
Yes, I know.
We won't go into much, but you're right. This thing that Tony just admitted was really fucking with his head.
Yes, it was really fucking with my head to the point where I thought I was going to go insane.
And it affected our friendship to the point where I had to tell you to stop being an effing idiot and walk away or we're no longer friends.
Yeah, I know.
So that podcast discussion was residual frustration that I and other panelists were having with him behind the scenes. But
yes,
that situation ended. And once you broke free, you got all those details that flooded out that proved why you needed to get away. But Tony, right. You're doing a lot better now, right?
Yes, I am doing a lot better than I was before.
That's right. So in political news, and don't worry, Tony, even if we bring up Donald Trump, you're free to say what you're allowed to say. We're not going to get heated, okay? Unless you say something stupid.
I haven't even been following wing politics, so I have nothing to say.
Okay, fair enough. But let's give a general take on Trump's first 100 days since taking office. We're not going to spend too much time on it as there's other segments we want to talk about. I know Tony really wants to talk The Last of Us Season 2. But since people on Discord asked us about it, the thing is, about the first 100 days, Adam, would you agree? Did Trump do exactly what he said he would do when he got elected?
I think in some cases, yes, he did. Especially when it comes to immigration.
Right. And he said he would implement tariffs. He said he would do mass deportation. He said he would sign in policies that address DEI and the whole transgender women in sports thing.
Oh yeah, he definitely did. And even the DEI and the transgender sports issues, that I actually have forgotten until you just mentioned them. I actually, those actually were implemented very early on.
Right. They were almost implemented as soon as he got elected. And I think the trend was already going down before the election happened, to be honest. But, Trump, he's a uniquely despised individual. All right. He was already polarized before he ran for president the first time. But when it came to 2024, you had to choose between a fast food cheeseburger that was Trump or the tepid gruel that was the Harris Biden administration that left a bitter taste more than Trump's first term, right?
In some cases, yes. Lots of people have already talked about, the open borders and, the unprecedented amount of undocumented immigrants coming in, which very, very sadly has led to a lot of preventable, well, not a lot maybe, but just, very easily preventable tragedies, like Lincoln Riley, who comes to mind.
Which is
So,
why he signed the Laken Riley Act.
Yeah, very much. Yeah, that and a lot of the policies that Trump approved of and wanted, because that did multiple things when it came to securing the border and enforcing immigration laws and making that possible.
It seems like, the culture wars kind of fixed itself due to a combination of the free market deciding there was no more money in it. And of course, Donald Trump was like saying, nope, I'm against this stuff. So, but the thing is, do culture wars put bread and meat on the table?
No.
Definitely not.
No.
What will put bread and meat and cheese and all that good stuff on your plate? What will help you do that?
A better economy, you mean?
There you go. A better economy. So, you know what? It doesn't surprise me that given the trade wars going on with the tariffs, the perceived dismantling of the federal government due to Doge, that Trump has the lowest approval rating in 80 years for a president's first 100 days. So I'm really not that surprised. Are you?
Well, it's not too surprising, but I still find it to be really stunning. And with the tariffs, though, that's very much understandable because Trump has been going overboard on them. He already implemented tariffs on Chinese goods back in his first term, which was one of the reasons why the Chinese economy was getting worse and worse. And but you don't need to do that on multiple other countries. It's not the right way to do it, and prices are already going to be going up. Plus, inflation is still a little relatively high. Well, it's been going down. It's been going down, but it takes time for inflation to decrease to the point where it has ripple effects onto us individually to where we could afford more. Back in the early 1980s, and it was actually, there's record high double-digit inflation. And that did not start going down until 1983, which was actually the same year as when the recession ended. So it actually took, a couple years or even more than that after Ronald Reagan took office for the economy to actually get good again, to become good again.
Correct.
So
we're
going to have to wait.
Right. It's gonna take some time. So you know what? At the end of the day, until the price of eggs gets back to normal and people in general feel like their jobs are paying enough money, the economy's doing better. The thing is, Trump could literally cure cancer, and half the country would protest saying he's taking away jobs from the Grim Reaper, while the other half would be like, okay, that's great. Where's that great economy you promised us? Tony, feel free, okay? Do you still hate Donald Trump with a passion?
I have no comment because I haven't even been following him. I don't love him or hate him because I just don't care anymore. I just don't care.
It's okay, Tony. It's an open forum. It's all right. So I'm going to ask that again. Do you still hate him as much as you hated him in November?
No, I don't still hate him as much as I used to.
All right. I guess I don't need to hold up the doll and ask Tony, where did Donald Trump hurt him? So I guess I don't have to do that. That's all right. But you know what? I wanted to bring Tony on this podcast because of The Last of Us, especially season 2, because I know he played both games. And I pretty much respect The Last of Us as it's not the greatest gameplay, but it is one of the best video game stories ever made. Would you agree with that,
Right.
Tony?
Yes, I agree. It was one of my favorite PS3 games of all time. And the DLC Last of Us Left Behind, which is like a prequel, was like a sort of prequel to what happened to Ellie before she met Joel.
Right. So, but would you also say that, yeah, the gameplay is lacking? So it's pretty much a movie experience. You can watch all of the cutscenes of the game and you're not missing anything from any of the gameplay, right?
Right.
All right. So, and I would say it's right up there story wise with Metal Gear Solid 1 in terms of greatest video game stories. What would you think, Tony? Yep.
Joel was kind of unlikable, but I can understand why he was unlikable. You know, his daughter died. He couldn't trust anybody, and he was trying to save Ellie. I bet you he was trying to not make the same mistake he did with Sarah. I think the ending ended perfectly. I didn't think it needed to have a sequel there at all.
The way that story ended, where he decides, nope, I'm not going to have this girl be sacrificed for the greater good of mankind. I mean, it's a good ending, but it is still a pretty intense and fucked up story, right? Now, did you ever check out the HBO series, or what were your thoughts when you found out that the first game was being adapted into an HBO series?
I thought it was pretty interesting. You know, like my parents liked the show. They had no idea it was based on a video game, and I basically tell them, I basically ask them, did this happen in the show? Did this happen in the show? Or did that happen in the show? This or that? And you know, it's interesting, and I do like it. I mean, like I will admit the game is better because the game came first, but I respect the show for what it is.
Well, it has Pedro Pascal in it, and that dude he plays Joel perfectly. But again, did you spoil your parents what happened in the second game?
I did tell them what happened with Joel, but you know, we didn't think the season 2 would be that would be like that right away.
Okay, so what were your thoughts on the second game?
Well, to be honest with you, I hated it in the beginning, but the hatred has kind of died down. I respect it for what it is, but you know, it's like I just did not like what they did to Joel, especially with what Abby did, especially had to play as Abby in the second half of the game. It's like we're supposed to feel sorry for her that she killed why she killed Joel when there was no reason, when they're just like, you know, what they could have done is play as Joel, he dies, then you play as Ellie, and then we find out and then Abby admits what she did via flashback scene, and there you go. It's what they should have done. But instead, just switches back like that.
So if those of you that are listening to us and you've never played the second game, you literally just heard Tony tell you that you actually play as the antagonist for half of the game, the second half of the game. So you literally watch this person come out of nowhere, kill off Joel, who you loved in the first game, and then you have to play as her. Like, how does that not fuck up with your head if you're playing the game?
That sounds very fucked up.
Ellie and Dina, you know, like it's just that was no surprise there. We knew Ellie was a lesbian in the Last of Us Left Behind DLC when she was with that Riley girl, and they were like, "Kid, they kiss and everything."
There was an episode dedicated to that Left Behind DLC where it establishes that Ellie is gay. Nobody was really complaining about Ellie being gay in the first season. All of a sudden, in the second season, oh my God, you just don't like gay people. Like, we didn't have an issue with it. But
no, we did not have an issue with that.
No, we really didn't. But like I said, they did think that there was a point when they thought that Abigail was transgender. It turned out she isn't. The actress that plays Abigail now is nowhere near muscular. Like, she looks just like any normal 5'3" woman. And then you literally just watch her beat Joel to death with a golf club after shooting his legs out. But here's the thing. All right. So we knew a lot of people who know what happened in the second game were thinking, what's going to happen with the second season if they're going to follow the same suit? And they did the exact same thing. They kill off Joel early in the second season, which is season 2. The thing is, when Abby does do this at the end of the season 2 episode, many normies who never played the game nor knew about the twist thought, wait, what? I was watching this show for Pedro Pascal playing Joel. Now I got to sit through the rest of the season with Bella Ramsey's forehead leading the show? Nah, I'm out.
Think about how us gamers felt when they killed off Joel. We were wondering, why did she do this? You know, it's like, but the thing is, though, in the game, you know, Joel and Tommy's character personalities changed so much. They knew not to trust anybody, but then they become too trusting of these people of the WTO.
They actually changed that a little bit. So in the game, Joel just says his name out loud, and then Abby's like, "Oh, that's our guy." In the show, because I don't think you've watched the episode, Dina just says his name out loud, and then Abby puts two and two together. And then Abby does explain to Joel, "My name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die." Basically what it was. But at least Abigail does explain why she's about to do it. Versus in the game, she just kind of comes out of nowhere, and you don't find out why she did what she did until you played as her, right?
Yeah, but it wasn't even Joel's fault that her father died. It wasn't even Tommy's fault either.
But in terms of viewership, okay, when it comes to linear viewership, which are the people that watched it in real time as the show premiered, when Joel got killed off, 300,000 people just turned off the show as soon as it happened. And that's a third of the live audience that gets lost following Joel's death. The third episode dropped, 200,000 more people said nope. So it's basically lost half of its live audience, which again is not a great sign. So this is basically history repeating itself.
Indeed.
But yeah, the second game has its fan, and there will be those who stick around. But you know what they're all saying about this now? What do you guess what they're saying is going on, Greg?
You're probably saying, fuck this?
No, with all the people that are saying fuck this, guess what the other side is saying is really the reason why the ratings are so low.
Oh, let me guess. You're bigots or something?
Oh, they just don't like progressive stories. They're not forward thinking. They're a bunch of bigots. They don't like female-led stories.
It's the same tired old arguments.
Really? Did people review bomb the Fallout show when it was led by Ella Purnell? No. Did people review bomb Rogue One, even though that's a female lead protagonist?
No.
Nope.
No.
It's really interesting.
So, no, they didn't. So, amazing what happens when the show has good writing that people get behind.
Mm-hmm.
It's not review bombing when a lot of people don't like it. When a lot of people share the same sentiment, it's not review bombing. Vocal minorities don't cause half the audience to go away because the character they like just got killed off.
Do they really hate bigotry, or are they really just obsessed with it?
At this point, I think they're just obsessed with it.
I don't know what it is.
Whether they're the smallest minority or not, it's not always easy to tell, but they're a minority, but they have the loudest, most annoying, or if not obnoxious voices.
Because of this whole push, right, all of a sudden, they all want more diversity. So every show needs to have a gay character representation or something. So what that ended up causing is that even though, it's a very small percentage of people that are trans and part of the gay community, with the abundance of the characters in a lot of the shows, it makes people think, oh, this is over. Maybe half the country is really gay, when in fact that's not true.
It's never been true. They're all the LGBTQ plus or queer community has always been a small minority,
right?
And the thing is, I'm not against them if they're
Sorry about that.
If they're new original characters.
No, we're not against that at all.
But
if they're good, well-written characters, and if the story dictates it, then it's fine. Like Ellie was a well-written character in the first game, and she happened to be gay in the first game, and nobody batted an eye. Okay, imagine if this was a parallel universe, Tony, and they did an HBO Max series on Metal Gear Solid. Okay, can you imagine this?
Yeah, I can.
Okay, so first season, it's Metal Gear Solid 1. So people fall in love with Solid Snake and follow his mission to the season finale where he defeats Liquid Snake and stops Metal Gear. I mean, wouldn't that be like a really well-received season, right?
Yes.
Okay, so Tony, how do you think people would react if they did the second season and it was on and it was based off the second game?
They would have probably went crazy, at that. 'Cause, oh my God, who's this writing guy? Where's Solid Snake? Why is he supporting character and blah blah blah? Even though Raiden was Hideo Kojima's favorite character in the franchise, but still, they would have been craziness. They would have went crazy and just stopped watching the show. Even though we would have had Naked Snake in season 3 and then Old Snake in season 4.
Yeah, a lot of people would have been turned off. But then because of people getting turned off, imagine all the people going, "Oh, you just don't like men who look like non-binary people," because of Raiden.
Yeah, well, Ryan didn't even look that much. He just had long hair. I had a guitar teacher like that. It's a
Well,
big
the
deal.
person who the character design said essentially just intentionally said he's supposed to look like a beautiful man. Look, it has now come out that the movie Revenge of the Sith has done $40 million internationally when it was re-released in theaters in honors of the 20th anniversary. So did you guys hear about this?
Yeah.
Yes, I did.
Well, me, no. And I did not even know that Revenge of the Sith was re-released in theaters.
I didn't know much. I didn't know necessarily much either. But again, $40 million on an opening weekend for a movie that is free to watch on Disney Plus for anyone. Again,
And it's about 20 years old.
Yeah, it's 20 years old. Re-release in theaters. That is pretty good. And also,
Yeah, no kidding.
And also, it's Revenge of the Sith. It's not like it's Empire Strikes Back or A New Hope, much better critically favored films. It's a deeply flawed best of the prequel.
Yeah, well, we all thought that the Star Wars prequels were the bottom of the barrel until Disney forced out and dumped out a bunch of sequel trilogy and a bunch of spin-offs.
Right. And you know what? Lucasfilm has been re-releasing the older films in cinemas for a while, usually to give people a chance to experience it in a theater and to mark a big anniversary. Mr. Pat, the moviegoer on the front of the podcast, said that when he went and saw Revenge of the Sith over the weekend, it was one of the best experiences he ever had in a theater. Like words coming straight out of his mouth. So again, it still managed to sell out theaters across the country. So I guess that just goes to show you, even if we think that Star Wars is dead in its current incarnation, people still love Star Wars, just not what Disney and Kathleen Kennedy are shoving down our throats.
They just leave the whole entire put a chicken egg, make her lame and gay.
It's not even that simple. The thing is that Disney has milked the Star Wars franchise too much. And it has ruined that. They should have made either what George Lucas wrote for a sequel trilogy or make movies based on the Star Wars novel. And just, go in the straight and narrow with that.
20 years ago, people were absolutely shitting on George Lucas and the prequel trilogy. It was fashionable back then to do huge video essays, many of which were longer than the actual movies than the ones they were bashing. But now that we've had 10 years of Disney fucking it up, people look at the prequels with rose-colored glasses, so much so that whenever Disney makes a new show that advertises Hayden Christensen coming back as Anakin or Darth Vader, it's like the audience is going apeshit and throwing babies in the air. Am I not wrong?
Mm-hmm.
Compared to what Disney's done, it makes the prequels seem like masterpieces. Even though I still won't watch them, they're masterpieces compared to the new stuff. Hell,
I remember,
even the prequel
Tony, when I forced you to watch the last two movies and you did not enjoy any of it, and your reactions were hilarious.
Yeah, I take it back. It was only episode 8. It was only episode 8 because I did see episode 9 in theater. I just skipped episode 8, so.
Right, you skipped episode 8 until I forced you to watch it, and you're like, what the fuck is this?
I know, because it just was just...
And one thing I was going to mention about is, when you mentioned about the whole books and all that from Star Wars, you got Kathleen Kennedy being on Zoom and all that, saying, how the fans want the books to be adapted to the shows? Well, Kathleen Kennedy says, we don't have enough source material for that.
Bullshit.
Yeah. And my last point of it is that you mentioned, these video essays that last longer than the movies. That's in recent years. We remember a time when YouTube, had a 10-minute limit for video uploads.
Right, but they were doing that on their own website. Back when Doug Walker was doing that guy with the glasses.com, and you could post videos on Blip, I believe.
Yeah.
Blip. Yeah,
there was no
that.
limit then. So people would post video essays on those sites that were longer than the movies they were bashing.
Oh, that makes sense. That makes sense.
And what about I don't know, another subject we could bring up is the whole Hollywood movie to Atlanta, Georgia.
Well, that's something we can close up on. And the funny thing is, yeah, Hollywood was the big entertainment capital of the world, but it has gotten so expensive to shoot there or to do anything in California that it's not cost effective. So that's why, I mean, even the biggest shows like Cobra Kai, the setting is Los Angeles. Like all the references, I know the references. Cobra Kai was filmed in Atlanta, and that's common with a lot of shows nowadays.
I'm not surprised about that.
They were the filmmaking capital of the world and for several decades and eras. But then again, there have been a lot of changes in the last 10 or more years that we never thought we would see and hear. Atlanta has overtaken LA for being the number one filmmaking spot in the country.
Well, that's the thing is California has been overtaxed and overregulated to death to the point where the large corporations are moving out of state because they don't want to pay all the taxes. And the same thing is happening with the studios. The studios are like, you're making this too expensive for us. Fuck you guys. So now they're taking their money and going to where it's a lot more business friendly. And it wasn't always like this in California. It was a very business friendly state 50 to 60 years ago. That used to be the state everybody wanted to start a business in. And then all of a sudden that changed over the course of a few decades.
You know, it's been a problem for years and years in California already, but I guess it kept on growing, and big corporations from SpaceX, Tesla, even Facebook have all moved out of there because they can't take it anymore.
And the ironic thing is all those companies voted in those politicians who
they love those politicians, and they kept supporting them for a long time until it started really burning them in the ass.
All right, well, thank you for coming back for this one, Tony. Glad to have you back. See, folks, it's okay. We're all friends. You can go home happy now, right, Tony?
Yeah, everyone's all happy.
And let me guess, did Tony got a new girlfriend called Tiny PP?
Tiny Giny. That's what his new Asian girlfriend would be.
Yeah. The
diner is now closed. Okay, stay tuned for the next burgers and fries at the diner. Stay tuned for another Coyote rant whenever I make one of those. You want to talk to us, the links to the Discord are in the description. I'm Desert Coyote 22. Thanks for listening.